Okay, we're going to go deeper now into giving the spawn asteroids variation in terms of where they're spawned at the top of the screen, but also the speed at which they go down the screen. So the first thing to do is open up the asteroid blueprint. Okay, so I've already created the scripting, so I'm going to walk you through what you need to do, and at a certain stage I'll show you how to create those nodes and give you some explanation about them. So let's go back to the event graph. So this is the series of nodes that I've created to generate random speed and locations for the asteroids. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create some variables. Okay, and the variables, ignore these two at the top, it's these two that you're going to create. One's called speed and one's called spawn location, and they're both float type variables, and as you can see they've both got initial values of 0. So to create those, dead easy, just click on the plus tool and then give them a name and then tell it what type of node they are. If I just go through an example, so if I call that test, if you notice it's got a red icon on it, that means it's a Boolean. If I change that to a float and I compile it, you can see it's got a value and it's ready to go. I can get rid of that for now. Okay, so you created your two variables called speed and spawn location. The first thing to do is we're going to create a new custom event. So that's easy to do. Called custom event. Add custom event and just call it spawn underscore event. Then drag your speed, and I want to set that variable, so drag speed and set, place that there. And the new one that we're going to use is called random float range. What that does is it can select a random number between the minimum and maximum values. Okay, so this is for speed, so remember it's going down the screen, so it'll always be a negative value. So if we right click and we type in random range, you can see you can pick from a variety of different values, but the one that we want is float. And you can see I put in -60 to -100. So every time this is called, it will create a random number between these two values. So that's connected up to the speed. So every time we spawn, it'll select a random speed value. And we do exactly the same for the location. So as you can see, I've got 170 to -170. Okay. So we do that because if we look at the view, we go to a right view, think about it, the value will be either positive or negative, but it'll be up here within this range, and it should be between half of 360, which is the width, the total width of this of the space or the game world. Again, you can tweak around with the values. So go back to the asteroid. So that's in there, so that'll pick a random location. And then this is where we set the speed of the asteroid. And we noticed it's looking at this projectile movement. That's because we've dragged that in to the scene and created a reference for it. Then we drag from here. We want to set the velocity. So we type in set velocity. You can see we can set the velocity. And you notice that this is open. You can see X, Y, and Z. All we need to do is right click and split that. That's how we create that node. Now remember, the only velocity change we want is along the Z axis, because that's the only axis it's going down. So make sure those are 0 in those, and then we just drag the speed here. We get that and we connect that up. So then that will set the velocity of the asteroid. And then finally, we're going to update its location, because initially when it spawned in the center above the game world. We drag in the spawn location and we set actor location. And all we do, we just change the new location. So find set actor, very easy, right click, set actor location. And same again, it's a vector, so to split that vector up, so split and you get X, Y, and Z. So that's how you do that. This is important because you need to put in these values, because obviously the X value is determined by the spawn location, but the Y and the Z, okay, determines its height above the screen. So that should be above the game world, and the Y is how far away from the plane of the space it is, which should match up with the location where the spacecraft is, and that should be -10. Okay, so we'll compile and we'll save that. And now when we test it, we get, oh, it's not working at the moment, just a second. So that's all set up. So that's the spawn event. So that only does that when that's triggered. So if we look down here, I'm just going to bypass this bit. So if I just break that, because that's for the other video, I'll just break that, leave that to one side. So in the event begin, so this is when the asteroid is spawned. All we do is we call the spawn event. So to get access to this node, all you need to do is right click and just type in the event that we want to find, spawn event, and as you can see, it's found that function, and then you just wire that up. So as soon as the asteroid is spawned, we fire this event, which effectively triggers all of this that we've just created. So let's just test that. As you can see, we're getting random asteroids falling from different locations every 2 seconds. Okay. So in the next video, I'll show you how to destroy the asteroids with the projectile.